So many people are going through this thing कि अब क्या करें, the jobs are getting limit as we are climbing up and how should we do? So I'm sure our today's conversation will benefit them.
I was telling this to myself, dude, let's do
So
it.
डर था, कहीं ना कहीं
100% डर
doubt
था.
था.
See,
Yeah.
because you want to be in a space where if you can do 100, the system allows you to do 150. You don't want to be in a space where if you can do 100, you're always double guessing, second guessing, not. But even if when you're joining a Series A, for anyone who's listening in, etc., and evaluating something, I'll say evaluate it from a perspective of can you turn this around if it doesn't work?
Atul, now we come to the last segment of our podcast. We've introduced it in this season, which is called the High Five. Namaste, I'm Shubhi Mathur, and I welcome you all to Let Us Talk. While we discuss the midlife professional challenges which we all face at some time, don't we all at a point face a challenge, a dilemma basically, whether to move from a corporate giant to a startup, a well established blue chip company, a corporate giant, and suddenly you get an offer from an exciting startup, bubbling with opportunities. You really don't know what to do. You seem confused. It's a well established company, everything is taken care, comfortable position. But at the same time, the entrepreneur in you wants to try this new exciting opportunity. Well, let us discuss about this shift from none other than Atul Mehta, CEO, Domestic Shipping, Shiprocket. Atul has navigated his career from a corporate giant to few startups. He was in Unilever and then he moved to Amazon and now Shiprocket. Let us hear his journey and take some insights from him. So, Atul, welcome on Let Us Talk. And it's a very exciting topic, I would say, because recently I have met so many of my friends who have got offers from these exciting fintech companies, some startups, some IT startup, and they're all thinking, rethinking, कि यार अब क्या करें? And I call this a bold move, what
Yeah.
you did, and why I'm calling it bold is एक established company है, एक organized structure, and one you are getting to make a structure, you are getting to organize it. So let us hear from you first of all that what made you take this decision? Your shift from Unilever to Amazon to Shiprocket, different industries. How did this happen?
See, I think for me, even the first shift from Unilever to Amazon,
Yeah.
as I reflect on it now, that wasn't that big a move because Amazon is an established
Yeah.
entity. But for somebody after having spent 11 years at Unilever, I thought even the shift to Amazon was a big leap for me. Moving from the comfort of knowing the ecosystem, I think was the biggest.
That comfort zone is what holds us back.
And I know the folks, right? If I need to get something done, you have built relationships, you know how to navigate the system to get something done.
True.
You have built some credibility. If you say something, people will understand, appreciate your perspective and where you're coming from. But I think one thing really helped was when I'm moving from Unilever to Amazon, I had one of my seniors who had also made a similar shift and he had mentally prepared me for what to expect. They're like, don't come with the chip on your shoulder, which we happen to do at times.
Yeah.
When you're moving from a big setup to a relatively smaller setup, sometimes we join with some very strong preconceived notions about this is how I expect this world to be.
Because this is how I've been working.
This is how I've been working.
Yeah.
And I think I tell this to everyone, right? Anyone who's making a shift from an established setup to a new setup, saying it will be worse than what you have imagined. Now, when you walk in with that mindset, you are trying to make peace with whatever you are getting, and you are trying to create your own path within the new setup which you have joined. Right? I'll give you an example. Unilever, a lot of admin related stuff, travel related stuff, etc. was taken care of. Right? Like
you just have to tell this flight I have to take, book this ticket.
Filing expense statements to getting stuff done. Was very well taken care of. Shift to Amazon, you have to do everything yourself. There's a portal, you log a ticket, you get stuff done, etc. You can get bogged down with it. You can, they always say, grass is greener on the other side. You can continuously reflect on, oh my God, life was so much better there.
ये छोटी-छोटी चीजों में I was not wasting time. Yeah.
Yes, but then you can look at the joy of what else you are getting when you're moving to a fast moving setup. And it's I think it's a mental battle. You're continuously talking to yourself on this is better, this is worse, because it's not going to be everything going your way when you make any shift, whether it is from one established company to another established company, whether it's from a very established setup to a fast-paced setup, like what happened with me when I moved to Amazon, or when there's a shift from say an Amazon to a startup, like that again for me, moving from Amazon to Shiprocket. Look, I was excited about. I loved the fact that I could do more stuff at Amazon versus I could at Unilever. It was more fast-paced. You could impact things.
More flexibility.
More flexibility.
Yeah.
I'll say more empowerment.
Yeah.
Speed of change was faster. You could see fast results on what you were doing, and क्या बोलते हैं शेर के मुंह में खून लग जाता है
The
वाली
lion
चीज हो
has
जाती है.
tasted the blood.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I want to look at a setup where I can maybe explore myself more, express myself more, create higher impact. One thing which I realized was a significant shift was in Amazon. I used to seek work-life balance, right? Try to find time. In a startup, you realize this: you need to find work-life harmony, because you will. If and at this stage, if you're joining a smaller setup, you need to live, breathe what that company is all about, right? Otherwise, you won't be successful. You have to do it like it's your own baby. You might have joined it at a later stage, but yeah, 40, 45, you're potentially joining at a leadership position in a
Yes.
small setup. You have to believe in what you're doing, potentially more or at least equal to what the founders are doing. You have to luck it out as well on finding a nice group of founders who give you the freedom to explore. But there's no point joining there to work. You want to become a mental co-founder. You want to operate with 100% ownership. You want to make it your own baby.
Yeah.
Then you join that setup. And what that means is Friday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday. You might not have opened your laptop to do some work, but your mind will continuously be buzzing.
True.
And you have to be very comfortable with it. And I think that's one thing I felt was very different from how my journey had progressed from my Unilever to an Amazon to now Shiprocket.
So Atul, but expectation is different from reality. No
Yeah.
matter how much you prepare yourself, like you said, I was told by a senior
Yeah.
or your friend, colleague. But when it hits, it hits.
Yeah.
When you join, then because I remember sometime back a friend was telling,
Yeah.
he was a banker,
Yeah.
and he again joined a startup, and he said, "यार यहाँ तो coffee भी खुद बनानी पड़ती है. I have to book my own Uber. There, everything was taken care. I used to just tell my assistant."
Yeah.
So this mindset shift, how come? And by 40, 45, you're in that zone. No matter like how you said that exciting work is there, you are a mental co-founder, but there are so many other factors also. How does this mindset shift happen? How do you prepare yourself mentally that
You have to keep telling yourself. You have to keep telling yourself.
Yeah.
You have to keep telling yourself
But
that
at
it's a
times,
different
don't you
setup.
feel ki what am I doing?
No. Because you have to tell yourself to balance the positives and the negatives. And human mind, what you like,
Yeah.
after a few months, years, you'll say, yaar, yehi acha nahi hai. I'll give you an example. Ek kal ka hi hai. You said, so my daughter, we're generally talking about her childhood, like
Okay.
how
How
she
old is
was.
she?
She's 13 now. She used to suck her thumb, right? And me and my wife were discussing, we were telling her how we got her, how we got you to leave
Leave
sucking
it.
thumb.
Yeah.
And she's like, why did you like it, etc. Like, funny story, the first time you put the thumb in your mouth, we were very excited. We went to the pediatrician. See, she's sucking thumb. So cute, so cute, so cute. पहले महीने बहुत अच्छा लगा. Right? Second month, wow, she's sucking thumb. By the 10th month, you're saying, यार, इसकी
अरे,
आदत
बंद
छुड़ानी
कराओ.
पड़ेगी.
Yes.
Same thing, right? Like it's like, in Amazon, we used to spend and obsess for the right reason a lot on dwelling on an idea, right? So if you have to do something, you'll write a PR FAQ. It's almost like a press release,
Yeah.
right? Where you are almost envisaging, whenever I launch this, what am I going to tell press? PR FAQ, any new idea, you write a PR FAQ. Takes a week, 10 days, a month to write a good PR FAQ because you're fleshing it out. What that does is sometimes compromises on the speed because you are like spending a lot of time thinking through it, aligning different stakeholders. So I joined Shiprocket. I think this is the first month. I had an idea on, this is what we should do for courier allocation. I tell somebody in my team, can you think about it and let's discuss. In my mind, I'm expecting, when will it happen? 15 days later, he's going to block time.
Yeah.
Late in the day, at 8:30, I see an email from him. This is how we are going to do it. Should I be excited about that it happened very fast? Obviously, it won't be the quality
Yeah.
of a well-detailed out PR FAQ.
Yeah.
There can be a cynic in
Mentally,
me
you're
saying,
prepared 15 days.
no,
Yeah.
but there can be a cynic in me. I read it. It's not the same quality as the documents I would have read at Amazon. The cynic in me can feel, startup में लोग ना दिमाग नहीं लगाते. The optimist in me will say, wow,
And
this
what
is
did
like
the-
one day.
And
Now,
what did the real you say?
I genuinely was. See, the real you need to understand there is a positive to it and there's a negative.
Negative
You
to
have to balance it out. Right? I'm saying two different people when they join this could have without this expectation that some things are going to be very different on the positive side, some things are going to be different on the not so positive side, will have very different way to interpret it, and then can in their mind keep telling themselves, "Arey, ye to maine acha nahi kiya."
And in this process, do we change ourselves? Keep training the mind,
Yeah, you
keep
need to.
changing
You
the
need to.
work system.
You need to.
We become a totally new you.
I think you become a totally new you in the way you express your expectations with people around you.
Yeah.
I never have to express my expectation on speed with team here in a startup, right? I sometimes have to over obsess on take 2 more days. If somebody is going to tell me, we'll do this review on Friday, I'll tell them, let's do it on Monday. Right? Because I know bias for action is coming very intuitively. Right? Maybe a second level double click might work wonders here. Cut to in an Amazon setup, when like I would be reviewing a PR FAQ, I'll say, yeah, if somebody's saying I'm going to do it in a month, I'll say, yeah, can we do a check-in in 15 days just to see whether we are making progress or not. Now, which behavior do I like? I don't know. Like I'm saying, both are delivering an output, right? Both the surrounding is different. If I am an obsessive overthinker and a believer that the grass is greener on the other side, I am going to hate both. In an Amazon, I'll buy for a Shiprocket experience, and at Shiprocket, I'll buy for an Amazon experience, and I'll screw my mental happiness, and I'll be, yaar, yahan maza nahi aaya. So you have to, I think fundamentally, what I believe is you have to understand some nuances around how are you going to lead people,
Yeah.
how are you going to translate what you expect. I flex my leadership style massively between the two organizations. You have to, right? Because the surrounding and the expectations are different. When you're in a leadership role in a startup, you can't be a recipient, right? I could have been a cynic for something, right? In Amazon, for example, the ticketing system, right? I could have, yaar, किसने बनाया है? बहुत complicated है. I can't do that at Shiprocket. I can't. Because then I had to tell myself, यार, बनाया तो change कर देना यार. If you can't, मतलब, who are you cribbing to? Who are you? So that's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
There'll be individuals who will be excited about it. There'll be individuals who will say, यार ये तो बहुत ही overwhelmness है. मैं क्यों ticketing software में घुसूँ ना? मतलब मैं अपना काम करूँ. Like things like we shifted our office 2 years back, right? We moved to a new facility in Shiprocket, and it's been like 1 year. The company is running for Shiprocket started in 2012. 12 years of history. Founders have been running it for 9, 10 years. 4 of them great guys, and I've joined. मेरे को 1 साल हुआ है, and we're trying to figure out where the office is. Should I participate? Should I not participate? I'm saying if you are not being part of that process, somewhere you are not living what you wanted to live.
Yeah.
is it an ask for me to flex that skill? मैं तो Amazon, I never had to bother about
Yeah.
per square foot, क्या seat का rate चल रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, capacity planning, how much are we going to hire, should we not, etc. It's exciting. It's spending weekends, checking
Scouting
offices.
the location. Yeah.
And it's not me the decision maker,
Yeah.
right? There's a team, like there are
Yeah.
4 founders, they've run the company, they are doing it for 10 years. And I want to be part of it.
But it's by choice.
But I'm saying you love this
Yeah.
only if you like that choice. Somebody else, I am running a startup. Say, I would have started something. I would have had a senior leader join me. I would have said, Saturday ko aaja, dekhne chalte hain office. He could have cribbed about it also.
But it makes you feel involved. You are like you said, a mental co-founder.
See, you
Yes.
have, I think
That ownership, that onus.
if you love ownership,
Yeah.
if you want to make an impact, and I am not using the word lightly, if you are willing to take there's some things which you keep obsessing about, right? रात को भी 12 बजे, I have like a WhatsApp group, notes to myself. Most of the time at 11 or 12, I'm thinking of और क्या कर सकते हैं, और क्या कर सकते हैं, और क्या कर सकते हैं. It could be my business. It could be how should we structure feedback in Shiprocket. It could be how can we do better goal setting next year. A lot of these things I was told, and there was very clear structure at Amazon. I did not have to obsess about it, right? And you mentioned there's a structured environment.
And here you are building a structure. Yes.
That's the answer.
And that
I
gives,
could not have built. I could have in my silo a different culture, but I could not have influenced Amazon culture at a level where I can potentially influence, and I am influencing Shiprocket culture.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. That's a different.
And that gives a kick also. That's what
100%.
keeps you going.
100%.
So Atul, like you said that, at 12 o'clock you send notes to yourself and all. And while I'm talking about the mindset shift, this is the time, while you are in an established company, or I would say a structured company, everything is set. Your family is also used to your presence.
Yeah.
They are not used to you going on weekends and scouting for office locations. They are used to their weekend lunches, brunches, weekend getaways. So how was this mindset shift taken by your family, or or they also had to do a mindset shift?
Yeah.
So how was this balance done?
So I'll tell you how we should do this balance. I'm still a work in progress in that
this
sense.
is my favorite line.
Yeah?
That we are all humans in progress. Yeah.
See, I think it's not the quantum of time. Yeah. It's the quality of time.
Yeah.
When I had the luxury of time. I don't know how much I would have spent on OTT and watching random shit on TV, right? And what happens is, even when you are in a very fast-paced environment, your own setup or a startup, etc. Yes, you have these odd weekends when you are doing, like said, that's a meeting, whatever, etc. It's not that you are not physically present.
But
right?
you're mentally also
that's
occupied.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you do get occupied mentally.
Yeah.
And hence what you need to do is compartmentalize.
True.
It's tough. I am still struggling to do it, right? There are times when my, just Saturday, I had to write something, right? Like we were writing a long-term strategy for Shiprocket, and I'm trying to get to write it. There have been 2 weeks. I'm not able to mentally get into the zone to write it, right? And Saturday morning, I tell my daughters, get ready, 12 o'clock, we'll play a game, right? A board game. Perfect. 10:30, I start writing. And I'm in
That
the
writer's
flow.
mode is very different.
And I'm in the flow at 12, and she comes over and says, you told us to get ready, you're not taking a bath, what are you doing? I'm like, beta, abhi thoda zone mein hu. Matlab,
flow mein hu, character mein hu.
but you ideally want to be able to control when you get into a zone, because the last thing which you want is when somebody is at home, or when you've made a commitment, for you to get into that so-called zone of yours, where your family is saying, your zone, your side. Like, let us plan it well, right? And I don't know how, it's tough to do it. I think some of what I've heard is, over a weekend, just putting a calendar entry of, these are 2 hours I'm going to think.
Yeah.
Would that
Think like introspect?
introspect, think about कुछ idea है वो कर लो etc. Because otherwise what happens is throughout the day your mind will keep buzzing
Yeah.
and you won't be able to shut it down when you are with family. And hence giving yourself even some time on the calendar. This is my me time. This is my thinking time. So what was buzzing through my mind for 24 hours. But you know what? In those 20, every hour I was spending maybe 30 seconds on that because then I was jumping to the next one. And then I was jumping to the next one. And then something else was happening, something else was happening. Just putting a calendar entry helps.
Yeah.
I won't claim I have perfected it.
We are all humans in progress.
It's I'll say if there's one advice you should seek from people who have spent more time, more senior, more accomplished, this is this. How do you compartmentalize your mind space? Because as you continue to grow, either in an established setup or in a startup, your mind will buzz with more and more things and more more things, and it can be distracting for people around you, which is very. I think it becomes harsh for them, saying, "Why are you mentally not there? Or physically there ho, mentally nahi ho." That's
I
tough.
think sooner the better we understand and realize how important it is to compartmentalize.
Yes.
Yeah.
So becoming more mindful, I think, is अभी ये कर रहे हैं तो यही करते हैं. मतलब, by the way, the other thing which really helped was this group I created, like note to myself, because I think when you have expressed it, either talking to somebody or writing it down,
journaling, like what people
journaling. There are times I start discussing with my wife. हम ऐसा करेंगे तो ऐसा करेंगे, ऐसा करेंगे, ऐसा करेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, etc. Even if she doesn't have context,
but it helps.
It really
communication is a key.
And how the time while I'm talking to her, I'm realizing, अच्छा इसको ऐसे कर लेते हैं, तो ठीक. Compartmentalized, closed. Mentally, I'm done with this discussion now.
Mentally, no direction मिल जाता है कि how will I take it further.
Yes.
So Atul, coming back on the professional front, looking back at the switches which you've made in your jobs, were you never unsure or were you never apprehensive about the stable work culture and the instability of a startup? Did it never click to you कि भाई Unilever is a giant working since so long, Amazon relatively new, Shiprocket even new. So didn't this thought come, or you knew कि यार I'll figure a way out? And how was it? How did you deal with this instability which the startups come with?
So I think I'll tell you interestingly, when I moved from Unilever to Amazon was a different mindset. Amazon to Shiprocket was a different mindset. When I moved from Unilever to Amazon, I almost had a re-entry card mentally with myself, saying if it doesn't work out, I'll come back. Right? And I knew I had equity. Mentally, I don't think I said it to anyone. But I was telling this to myself, dude, let's do it.
डर था, कहीं ना कहीं
100%
doubt
डर
था.
Yeah. See, because at that, like I told you, I was going to build myself again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we've all been through campuses, right?
Yeah.
First year of campus versus fourth year of campus. There's a difference. You know the ecosystem.
Totally,
right?
yeah.
It's precise. I think, at least for me, it was precisely that. कि वहाँ भी शायद अच्छा campus मिल जाएगा. But what if it doesn't click like how Unilever has clicked? And Unilever is a massively people-centric organization.
I call it a giant. Like it's a giant.
And very good with people.
Yeah.
Their people policies are potentially the best. The amount of investment they do on, like, their leaders, in grooming them, training them, the type of camaraderie you have with folks around you, the type of personal relationships you make. बहुत बड़ा leap of faith था. And just
why? How? What triggered?
What triggered?
Yeah.
What?
जब सब कुछ was perfect. कई बार होता है ना कि then why?
See, I think somebody called, like somebody who I went to work with at Amazon, said there's an interesting opportunity. We were setting up Amazon pantry, which was grocery.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to do e-commerce, but I knew मेरे को नहीं आता है e-commerce. Right. मेरे को FMCG. I know FMCG.
Yeah.
And then pantry, for the first time, felt like I think I'm the best person to do it.
But it was a industry switch also.
Yeah, for me, but it was grocery. See, pantry was grocery. We were delivering groceries.
Yeah.
So, if I would have joined Amazon in electronics or wireless, I would have felt I need to know this.
Yeah.
And एक जो self-confidence आता है ना, I know this, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And I know, I am confident, I'll make this happen. That somehow came through because the category it was. Plus, I happened to talk to a couple of my seniors, Manish Tiwari, who was the country head at Amazon. He's now moved to Nestle. Was somebody I'd worked with. Thanks to him, he took out time. An hour conversation I had with him, and he sounded so excited, and he had been with Amazon then for 6 months. And he sounded so excited about this is how it happens, work happens here. This is this narrative culture, people write. There was this youthful exuberance in what he was talking about. He was like, 10 years senior to me.
And I think this is what people look.
Yeah.
When they switch, that youthful exuberance, what you've said is, that excitement, I think that is what is...
So I was excited with that. Think ये तो करना है, right? But exit card लेके चला था. नहीं तो ये
Plan B था.
Plan B था. नहीं तो I had said, there have enough bosses like in you may कहीं ना कहीं तो नौकरी लगवा देंगे. No problem. The shift from Amazon to Shiprocket was more personally exciting for me when people said, "यार company में जा रहा है, you don't know what will happen." One, we were at a decent scale, like when Shiprocket had joined, we had already raised Series E, so it wasn't a Series A. But even if when you're joining a Series A, for anyone who's listening in, etc., and evaluating something, I'll say evaluate it from a perspective of, can you turn this around if it doesn't work? Again, the owner's mindset. I believed the space we are in Shiprocket, there's no way it won't work, right? Unless I go up. Unless I am the one who is causing it not to work, where I said, I have confidence there, I'll make it happen. So there's no downside here. It's like saying you are decorating your house. Are you nervous? It won't look nice? Are you nervous? No, you are doing it.
Sure, I know what I want.
You are doing it, right? You are doing it. Versus you check in into a hotel. Are the interiors going to be good or not? You don't know.
You're skeptical.
Skeptical. It's like saying you're building your house. And then you are skeptical कि यार मेरे घर के इंटीरियर अच्छे होंगे. Sir, you are responsible. अच्छे नहीं है तो चल बदल लेना. Or you can be the self-doubting always. पता नहीं अच्छा है कि नहीं. Then तो आपको मतलब then you are going to be stuck everywhere, right? So trust yourself, trust your instincts. For me, it was I did not
have that sense of ownership. I think from the conversation what we are making, these two things which you were clear na, कि यार the confidence, I can do it, that excitement to explore something new, and taking that sense of ownership. I think somebody or anybody with these traits, just go ahead if you're part with this decision in your life.
And I think the other one, I lucked out with that, is the founder team you're going to work with.
That makes a lot of difference.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was hired, so Shiprocket, Sahil, Akshay, Gautam, Vishesh built an amazing company, right? And then they said, this is the core business and we are setting up new businesses. Why don't you come and lead the core business? So they are handing over the keys to the house. Technically to me. And we did multiple rounds of interviews over Zoom. We could never physically meet because it was COVID. So imagine the confidence they portrayed in me, and the signal I got was they handing over the keys to a guy they haven't physically met. We have done multiple.
You had worked with them earlier? No.
We had not physically met. They had not. No, you are a gambler, man. Like I tell Sahil as CEO, saying, dude, you like. Why and how did you decide that? I think it requires a lot of courage. So the other thing I'll say is look for these courageous founders who will give you the space.
I think that's also very important.
1 month into the role, 1.5, 2 months into the role, they have built it, 11 years, 10 years, and I'm saying, isko aise karte hain. Never questioned.
That's the faith they had in you.
That's I think
and that's the faith you gave to them.
And that's the faith I think you need to claim also. Saying, I want to do it this way. Let me.
And having that courage to, break that system also. 11 years somebody said something that to the co-founders and then you say, I want to change it. See, the ego pe hit ho sakta hai.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying, when you move to a smaller setup, I think what is very important is what you feel about the people you're going to work with. For me, I'll tell you, the first interaction I had with Sahil, I walked out of the room and I told Charu, I have campus ka extension laga. I felt like I was talking to somebody from Kharagpur or IMCAL. We had a great chat. Dhande ki humne kam baat kari hogi. That comfort that I can express.
And that energy.
That, and be vulnerable. you are getting into a system where people have built it from day zero.
Day
They have a
zero,
different way
scratch,
of doing
yeah.
it, etc. One, you have to have your guards down. Say it how you feel it. Two, have the maturity to hear it,
Yes.
and they are going to have their guards down. So yeah, like I think to come back to the question you had, are you nervous if somebody's saying, "मैं join करूँ या ना करूँ?"
Because
My question to them will be, do you think suppose everything goes wrong, do you believe you can turn it around? If yes, you have the answer. Na? Why are you worried about what
yeah,
happens to the company?
yeah.
If you are saying, I don't know, ये चलेगा, evaluate कर लो,
High
अच्छे
time
से.
you know. Yes. So, Atul, based on the conversations what we are having and what you said that, have a plan B ready, you should have that sense of ownership and that confidence that you can turn around things. So there will be few things which you will be doing, like some habits which keep you self motivated, which keep you, get going all the time, and which keep your enthusiasm high, and basically which helps you to compartmentalize.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are these habits, I would want to know? What
See,
do you do? Like, what are the things which you do?
so I think one is pick up a sport, right? I try to play tennis. I baddie, racket sports, etc. That's again a good way to get out of the zone to get back into the zone.
Yeah.
Because there will be days when you'll get overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. To have something where you can just be free and away and with intensity pursuing something else. I think for me the common thing is, am I pursuing something with the same level of intensity with which I was doing work? And just doing that shift and coming back to work has worked really well. If you have something like that,
Yeah.
it could be a
Have
passion,
a
it could be
hobby or anything.
playing
Yeah.
guitar, doing something which you can be obsessive about. By the way, when I was at Amazon, I used to do gardening.
Ah,
So
lovely.
just growing more plants
Yeah.
was something which was
Yeah, it
my
gives you
go-to
very,
zone.
yeah.
And when I'm out of it, I'll be more fresh and
Yeah.
I could think much
The
more clearer.
importance of hobbies also, of late, I think since 5, 6 years, I see people have really religiously, diligently taken out time. I have to devote myself to some hobby. Yeah.
The only thing I'll add is add a bit of obsession,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Take it
Because
seriously. Yeah.
see, because the way you do one thing is the way you end up doing everything.
Well
I've
said.
realized it,
Well
right?
said.
So
Yeah.
if I'm obsessive about a hobby,
I'm obsessive about
I'll
work.
ensure I maintain the same consistency when I'm doing something else,
True.
right?
It becomes a part of your system.
It becomes a part of your system. If you don't like something, don't pick it up,
True.
right? Like, don't do it because
Yeah,
then
just for the heck of it. कि हाँ,
because होता क्या ना, you always have a conversation with yourself subconsciously. आपको नहीं पता आप कर रहे हो, ठीक है, और उसमें आप अपने आप को रेट कर रहे हो, ठीक है. तो मैं जब गार्डनिंग कर रहा था तो I had what 150 plants at home,
Wow.
right? I never had a gardener come. I said मैं खुद करूँगा.
And how were you always fond of
No.
plants, or how did this
I don't know
develop?
how it happened. In COVID, I got one plant and then the other. Then I was like, I'll grow my own tomatoes. I'll grow my own chili. I'll have, like, I don't know what all I did. Like, all research on humic acid versus this as a nutrient versus this as manure versus कौन सी टाइप की सॉइल किस प्लांट के लिए चाहिए. I went deep into it. I was massively obsessive. I don't do it now. Like that was 2 year phase. It's gone. Now there's something else. But I've realized that I felt proud of what I was doing. To an extent, I'm talking about it today.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and managing 150 plants, wow.
And that sense of pride, which is coming from, I'll say, a activity which you're obsessive about, gives you the confidence. तो ये कर सकता है ना, तो और भी बहुत कुछ कर सकता है. Right? If I'm playing tennis and I'm obsessing about how am I going to win the point or how am I going to win the next set, and I actually win, you tell yourself subconsciously, if you could do this and you were obsessive about it, and last night you were researching about how to serve and how can you have more topspin in the serve and how can you perfect your left hand, like one-handed backhand, etc. That means you have it in you, because if you want it, you will go
Deeper.
all hog and deeper to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think that segue as a hobby works. Reading books, give yourself a goal. If you are one of those, I'll read 52 books. Make it happen. You're telling yourself. even in a busy schedule, I could figure out time to read 52 books. I haven't been able to. Right? Books is something I've not been able to crack. I do read on and off, but not an obsessive reader. But I think having those habits
Really helps.
of one passionate thing which you can talk about, which is not work, where you believe you're the expert. It could be one, it could be two, it could be more than two. But I think that really helps to keep telling yourself that you can do it. Other than that, I think other habits, good habits, scribbling, journaling, we talked about,
Yeah.
blocking some time on your calendar to do thinking.
This is something new which I have learned.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth, I love Amazon for teaching me that write. If you have any idea, you have any thought, write it, read it again. You will find 5 things to make it better. Write it again. Right? This podcast, what is it about to achieve? Write it. What is this podcast about? Write it. They call it the PR FAQ.
Yeah.
Right? Search about it. Search about it for everyone. It's such a beautiful. It's a creation, right? Writing a good PR FAQ, which is nothing but expressing what is there subconsciously or consciously in your mind and putting them in words. It's such a joy, right? To just see how it comes through, and I think it's again one way of doing a lot of justice to what is there in your mind, writing it, and then sharing it with people versus मेरे पास एक idea मैं आपको बताता हूँ. You're not able to do justice because एक बार आप एक चीज बताओगे, दूसरी बताओगे, तीसरी बार तीसरी बताओगे.
It helps you to get deeper, like what you
It
were
helps you to get
mentioning.
deeper. Yes. So I think these 3 things broadly as habits.
Yeah. I'm sure our audience will take some takeaway from these habits and help them. It will not only help them in their professional life, but personal life. It all goes hand in hand. And Atul, like you said, I learned this from Amazon and Unilever gave you that. So now I would ask that, how do you define success in a corporate world or in a established setup versus a startup?
I'll split it into 2. I think professionally, it could mean different things depending on what type of a thing you're doing. It could be like in a professional setup, it might be a set of goals somebody has given you. It's aligned to the org KRAs, etc. You're delivering it and you're feeling very happy about it. Most of the times, it's in a very good relative context within the org, right? So in a professional setup, what you are doing, maybe 5 other people are also doing.
Yeah.
And you have a very strong external yardstick. Say, okay, I am doing well if I am one out of these 6, first out of these 6, and they are very clear, objective ways to measure what you are doing. So in a startup, a lot of it has to come from an internal indexation and your desire to index yourself externally. Because when you're doing it in a startup or in a smaller setup, you have to look at what competition is doing where you might not know a lot. You have to be vocally self-critical. In a professional setup, maybe you are not very vocally self-critical. If you are the highest quarter delivery area sales manager in Unilever, you are the highest quarterly delivery area sales manager, period. Right? Everyone had a 20% growth, you delivered 25%.
It's tangible. Yeah.
In a startup, if I had to deliver 30% growth and I have delivered 35, first figure out what were the inputs which made it happen.
Yeah.
And are they going to be consistent and sustainable? Because I don't have to prove to somebody 35. Right? There's no, like somebody is not scoring me, which might be in a professional setup, कि आपने 35 कर दिया है, बहुत बढ़िया. क्योंकि I have to repeat it, say by growing at 40% next year.
Yeah.
So I better have very clear understanding of my internal yardsticks of did it happen because I did something and hence I feel confident next year will also 35 will become 40% growth or whatever, or it happened by chance where even if the goal was 30 and I have delivered 35, I'll have sleepless nights because I don't know how I'm going to replicate it. So control over levers, sharper understanding of why it happened versus just being focused on output metrics, I think is one difference. Not to take anything away from established setups, it's also a function of that your goals get better defined and are very standardized in a structured environment.
Yeah.
In a structured environment, your goals doesn't change. Like in Shiprocket, your goals will keep evolving, right? For me, for my team, etc. Priorities will keep changing. Some
Changing.
of the
Yeah.
things will keep changing, and hence you need to have a better hold of the why. In Unilever, somebody has over the last 75 to 80 years
Yeah.
perfected the why to a large extent, and hence it's about daily execution. The only way you track it is basis high focus on the output metrics. Uh, but here it's more about the why did it happen.
So, after listening to you, I realized that moving to a startup from a corporate giant is not only leaving your comfort zone, but also, having that sense of ownership in you, having that confidence to turn around things. And there are many things which one should be unlearning, relearning,
Yeah.
and that.
You don't know the context in a startup or in a new age setup because a lot of discoveries are yet to happen, right? Do you want to be the one doing the discovery? Do you want to lead from the front, get your hands dirty? You have to. So, yes, when you are in a more established setup, when you're 7, 15, 18 years, one, you are slightly away from action. Two, I think during multiple of your leadership trainings, you would have been taught that it's better to have a bird's eye view, not get your hands dirty. I'll say not when you're joining a startup, especially for areas where you yourself do not understand the finer nuances. 5 years into the system, 7 years into the system, once you understand the landscape, maybe that works, right? Maybe then you're saying, I made my mistake, I tried doing it myself, I burnt my fingers, and I learned it the hard way. Now let others learn. But don't do it from a perspective, I want to give direction and I'm not going to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
If it means creating pivot tables, if it means looking at data, if it means slicing and dicing data, if it means doing whatever it takes to have that youthful exuberance about work and being honest to yourself, you should do it. So that's a massive flex, I think, in the leadership style of how you operate. You should do. And eventually, like you said, when you're not getting your hands dirty, you are finding solace in a leadership paradigm you would have been taught,
Yeah.
and you're trying to mentally justify that you're doing the right thing. Deep inside, you also know, मेरे को करने का मन कर रहा है. कर लो,
Yeah.
कर लो.
As we are climbing up, as we are escalating, ये ground level वाली learning तो हमने कर ली.
कर
ये
ली.
तो freshers का काम है. ये तो जो new joinees वो करेंगे. But I think that's a very valid point that you have to, keep going back.
Yes.
Keep going back to
And
it.
then when you're in a new age company, you realize कि वो discoveries भी नहीं
Yeah.
होनी है यार. It's not he
And
established.
there
है.
is a discovery.
There is a
a
genuinely
discovery.
a discovery.
Yeah.
ना तो then be the leader which the team expects you to be and guide them in the right manner, which means get your hands dirty. But yeah, इधर भी balancing act होता है. जो डिस्कवरियां कर चुके हो बार-बार वो ना करो फिर.
हाँ,
Right
पर
there
होती
you
है,
have to.
होती है. Amazing, Atul. It was really great interacting with you and
Thank
taking
you.
insights. And so many people are going through this thing कि अब क्या करें? The jobs are getting limit as we are climbing up, and how should we do? So I'm sure our today's conversation will benefit them.
The gist of it is follow your heart. When I moved from Unilever to Amazon, I did not have any other offer, and I think I loved the choice I made because I followed the heart. When I moved from Amazon to Shiprocket, I wasn't interviewing with anyone else. I followed the heart. By the way, my joining Unilever was also very interesting. In IMCAL, I was a finance grad, right? And you rank companies basis where you want to
Yeah.
go. Unilever was ranked 23rd out of 25 companies I'd applied to in day one. And I wanted to be an iBanker. And I thought I'll be an iBanker. But I went to the Unilever interview and I thought somehow I connected with the folks who were interviewing. I got emotional. It was a very personal interview. I came out saying, this is a company I think I should work for. Just by the two people I interacted with. I had no idea Unilever का कौन सा brand है, Lux Unilever का है, नहीं है, etc. I was at that stage. But I followed the heart to say, I think this will make sense. And this is a company I can look myself building a career at. Worked brilliantly for me. Just follow your heart.
Yeah.
Don't overanalyze. If you are feeling excited about something, uh, talk to wherever you're joining, the founding team, etc. If you get a comfort level of comfort, if it feels like extension of college, if it feels like an extended circle of family, friends, etc., take the leap here. That fundamentally will determine how your 3 years, 5 years, 10 years you spend there be. Because yeah, business cycles, where this will succeed, where they'll not succeed. Like I said, you will be the driving force. You will make it happen. You want to be in a space where if you can do 100, the system allows you to do 150. You don't want to be in a space where if you can do 100, you're always double guessing, second guessing, not like, you have this wall up, you're not making yourself vulnerable, you operate at 30. Nobody likes operating at 30, everyone wants operating at 100. And if you can operate at 150, which in a startup where you have the alignment at the people level really well, there's only joy in your life.
Atul, now we come to the last segment of our podcast. We've introduced it in this season, which is called the High Five. Yeah. And we take one recommendation on 5 different things. And why these recommendations? Because, people are always referring, ki, this is the book I read which has helped me, or this is the movie which I look. So this is that segment. Yeah. So one book recommendation.
How will you measure your life?
One movie recommendation.
My favorite, Kal Ho Na Ho, Carpe Diem, live your life.
True. One advice, like although, we've discussed a lot, but still that one advice which you would want to give to people who are undergoing this transition or having this kind of offer.
Express yourself. As you can see, like I feel I've been fortunate to be in a situation where I don't have to hold myself and express, and that gives you a lot of joy. So express yourself.
One habit which has helped you to balance your personal and professional life.
Be calm. Don't get overtly emotional. I've seen people react under emotions. I have this favorite term, Shant Kara Hari Bhim Shant.
True. And the last, one learning or something you wish you had known earlier, or you had, incorporated this maybe in your personal life or professional life, that one learning which you feel.
Be more patient with kids early on. When they become teenager, you realize you should have been more patient.
Yeah. So wonderful, Atul. And we had an amazing conversation. It was such a good insight which we got. And, randomly when we meet friends and all, we are always discussing, ki yaar, jobs kam ho rahe, what to do, startup hai. That insecurity that people have is so much attached with a job in a startup. And I think very clearly you cleared all the doubts which anybody could have. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming here and having this conversation with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.